Hello and welcome to episode 16 of Support Stack. So, Dawn Perrott from Fin, AI Knowledge Manager, you are back for a second episode to talk about another exciting topic. We teased this in episode 15, didn't we, Dawn?
We did.
Yes. So today we were talking about how many factors do you think would be a good number of factors for a content readiness workflow or checklist, Dawn?
I'd go with the 14.
14 is great. 14 is good enough. You can have one every day for 2 weeks and you got a fortnight worth of content readiness at your fingertips. But tell me all about this. Like, why is this so important? Can't you just guess? Can't you just have operator guess about what changes it should make?
So each factor represents something that affects whether a customer can understand your content and whether Fin can retrieve it and use it accurately. A human reader might push through a confusing article, but Fin won't. Fin AI agent won't. So if a section is ambiguous, if an image has no alt text, if the steps are buried in prose, Fin will skip it or get it wrong. So the 14 factors aren't arbitrary. They're the things that consistently break AI retrieval and human comprehension at the same time.
Super. And so you've developed this. You've developed this within Fin, the company, and have applied this to your content. And now you've also you've made it available in the help center. So I'll put a link to that in here. So it's specifically in this section, the 14 factor content readiness framework. But I think what might be useful is just if we briefly talk through the 14 factors and then see the framework in action. Does that sound good?
Yeah. Let's go through the 14 factors now.
You go for it.
So this is the content readiness I've saved to my test workspace, but it's exactly what I have saved in my Fin workspace. So we have 14 factors. So the first one is disambiguation. So this is to avoid references like this screen or the fields shown above. Every reference must be self-descriptive, no emojis pointing, because Fin isn't able to understand that. The second one is visual content text. Every image must have descriptive alt text, a trailing colon, and image with no alt text is not acceptable. Describe the visual and the text too. So this is when Fin is sending images in its replies. By adding the alt text to the images, Fin will know exactly what is in that specific image. Are you familiar with the adding alt text to article content, Connor, or will I show you what that looks like?
I have seen that. I suspect people will know what it is, but what I'll do is just in case, we'll include a link to that in the show notes as well, so people can see what that means. Alt text being alternate text, right?
Yeah.
It's just in this case giving Fin or a screen reader as well, for example, for people who are visually impaired. It's a great way of giving them information about what is in the image, because ultimately Fin's not looking at the image at all, right? Mm-hmm. In the help part.
No, Fin isn't looking at the image necessarily, but Fin is pulling the context of what content is around that image. So by specifically putting the alternative text on it, you're making it far more accessible to all.
Yeah, that's perfect. So it's a good accessibility step, and it's a great step to also improve Fin's ability to use the images that already exist in your help center.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Then number 3 is undefined terms. So this is defining abbreviations and product-specific terms on first use. So if you're going to use GDPR, I suppose GDPR is quite a universal one, and 2FA, but you never know who your audience is. And it's always good to explain what those are initially, and then you can abbreviate them further down in the content. Number 4, structured enumeration. So multi-step processes must be in numbered lists. Lists of items must use bullet points. Never describe steps in flowing prose. Number 5, query answer symmetry. Headings should mirror how a customer would phrase a question. Prefer how to or question form over bare noun phrases or bare imperatives.
That one's a little bit more, maybe a little bit less clear for me. Just just reading through it, because it's got complicated words, query answer symmetry, and bear imperatives. Now,
I know.
I've never had a bear involved in Finn.
So yeah,
Haha.
this is, rather than just heading your sections and your content, what a product is. Like, let's just say tasks. You have a section on, or let's not say tasks, because that's, let's say notifications. You have a
Mm.
section called notifications, and Finn isn't going to be able to read that when it's answering, or pick it up as easily if it was in question format. So rather than saying notifications, say, how do I set up notifications?
Yeah. Okay, so you're exactly at it. The customer would phrase a question a certain way. Use that phrasing.
Exactly. Give the headings context, because
Mm,
your H1s, your H2s, your H3s, they're all really important for Finn's answer quality as well. Finn has a priority for answer retrieval, and it is looking at those signals. So it's important to make sure you
perfect.
have that outlined as well.
Perfect. And then 6 self-contained sections.
So every section must make sense if retrieved independently from Finn. Avoid, as described above, then openers or references to prior steps without restating them. So
Mm,
again, context is key. It's very important that you give context to Finn what's happening in this section if you're just launching into something entirely new. Audience specification, state who the context is for and what permissions or plan access is required. So this is a check every time you're generating new content. It's to see if there needs to be an audience applied, or call out applied to the content, saying who this article is for. So
mm.
are you on the
And so
plan?
am I right that that's both checking the actual like Finn AI agent audience, as well as just saying in the article, in the content itself, who it's for? Or is this just for the content side?
This would just be for the content side. So usually what I will say, if I'm creating some new content for a new feature that's going out, and if it's for a specific audience, I will say that in the content and it will be
Mm,
called out. It's something that's important to question when you're generating new content, because you need to make sure it's pointing to the audience that it relates to. But some articles are for everyone, and it doesn't have to be
yeah,
someone who's on expert plan.
yeah, yeah. Great.
It would be cool if it was also picking up on the audience applied to the content. You How we use that functionality in our own workspace would be, we would say to operator, this update is in relation to Fin standalone. Can you update the Fin standalone content? Or we would say this update is in regards to the Intercom help desk. Can you update specifically the Intercom help desk content? So it is actually able to pick up on, this is for this audience and this is for this audience.
Got it. Okay, that's great. Yeah, super.
So number 8, entity distribution. So repeat key entities, product feature names, and article core topics throughout, not just in the opening. And
Mm,
for context for Finn, semantic chunk boundaries. Each section should cover over focused topics, break long sections with meaningful subheadings. Number 10, restate questions. Tables and standalone blocks must include enough context to be understood without the heading hierarchy, and add an intro sentence before tables. Again, that's an important thing for accessibility. Overview, jobs to be done. The opening paragraph must state the jobs the reader will accomplish. Use this article to do Y, and is stronger than this article covers X. Instruction completeness. Step-by-step instructions must be completed end to end, including what happens after the final step. Number 13, limitations and workarounds. Document known limitations, gaps, and workarounds. Explicitly say which ones and what to do instead. And numerical clarity. In regards to these 14 factors, I wouldn't say one is the most important. I think they all are doing a specific job to
yeah, yeah.
put the customer in the AI. I can show you an example of content I queried against an article from my test workspace, and I can
I think that's a great idea.
see exactly where it failed and where it passed. So if you're looking for prompts on how to query operator, I have them in the AI knowledge management setup article, and
Perfect.
I have a section that's dedicated to what prompts to use. So the prompts I use
Okay,
most.
great.
So this is the one that I actually have used in the example. So how does this article measure up against the content readiness framework? And just to speed up my workflow, I've actually saved these prompts to text expanders. So if I wanted to use,
Great.
I would just go like, I would type my abbreviation and it would auto generate quickly because
Super.
I use this quite regularly. So this is just an example article that I generated for our demo today. And
Hmm.
when I queried it against that prompt, how is this article against the content readiness framework saved in your memory? And basically what it did, what operator executed then, it looked at the content readiness framework against all 14 factors, and it told me where it was passing and what factors were passing and what factors were failing.
Super. Yeah, that's really helpful. So this is going step by step through the whole content framework and saying, listen, here's what it's not living up to according to the standards that we've set. And all of these 14 steps will impact on Finn's ability to read the content, interpret it correctly, and use it in the correct context to answer customer questions and just create really frustrating customer support experiences for your customers. And so then it goes through and it suggests the rewrite. Now I presume there's going to be cases where it can't fully suggest what to change because it might lack the context itself on what an abbreviation might be, for example. But is operator like comparing with the rest of the knowledge base in this step as well and saying, okay, well, I don't know what JTBD means in this page, but I've just searched and I've understood that JTBD means jobs to be done because of this other knowledge article.
So if there is something ambiguous that operator doesn't know what the answer is, it will ask you the question, is this for this audience? Is this for this audience? It won't add in content based on something else necessarily. It will always ask for the clarification from whoever is accepting the proposals, because at the end of the day, it is the knowledge manager's judgment that's still actually very important to how AI is answering the customer experience. The workflow and the process to update content has been made like a lot quicker, but at the end of the day, it's still really important that the content that gets added is accurate and that it is up to date.
Ultimately. So am I right? Like you came to this role from the customer support team, and have and as a result, you have this wealth of knowledge about your company, Finn, your products, and your customers, and like that's what you can apply. Operator that makes that a lot more efficient, but your expertise as an AI knowledge manager and your massive past experience in working directly with customers is what makes this so effective. If you didn't know any of that, you would just come in and operator could suggest something and then you wouldn't know that didn't make sense in the product context. So you still need that expertise and you still need that customer insight to do a really great job.
Yeah, operator runs the check and reviews the proposals. I'm the one that approves what's right and push back on what isn't. And those 14 factors give you a systematic checklist, but your product knowledge at the end of the day is still the quality gate.
Absolutely. I would say how I would probably look at this is another way where I don't get to be lazy because I don't know about you, Dawn, but my default in a lot of cases is just like do the quickest path to get something done. And certainly I remember writing help articles in the past that were nowhere near as structured as they need to be now to work effectively for an AI agent. And having a specific framework like this 14 factor content readiness list is perfect to force me to be less lazy, but also in a way where I don't have to do a huge amount more work, which is important for me.
It really has sped up my workflow as well. Even on existing content, I will run the prompt and it will flag things that are not making sense that we already have in the help center, and it will tidy that up. Another thing I just want to mention is sometimes it's the case that not all 14 factors are updated in one go. So you may need to use the prompt multiple times. So sometimes what I will do is if I'm working on one article, I'll obviously go through the first check and I'll approve the proposal. And then to make sure that it has actually updated the content, I will ask it to reevaluate it. So it will run through those 14 checks again and it will tell me if it's been updated or if it hasn't.
Super. Yeah. And I mean, often if you run the article through, you're going to want to rerun it again anyway, because now you've got a brand new article that you want to make sure that all works. Yeah, this is really interesting. Okay, so it's running through again. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to share about the content readiness workflow? Anything else that, like, I got to be honest, this seems like something that should just exist in Operator.
I believe there is part of the LLM that there is a content check there already.
Brilliant.
This is just doubling up on it to make sure that it gets applied.
Yeah. And like we said, there are probably going to be some disagreements with parts of it. Some of them seem pretty obvious, and old, like the image alt text one. Obviously, that's something that you should always you should always have. Well, this is fantastic. I can see this being another really helpful episode, Dawn, to improve the quality of content and get Finn working even more effectively. But also, like, this is a great framework even outside of Finn as well. I hate to say it, but other AI agents are available. Not that they're any as good, but this is fantastic. Dawn, if people would like to learn more from you, that you have other things to share in the future, where should they go? What's the best place to find you?
Yeah, if folks want to follow along for more knowledge management tips, they can find me on LinkedIn. Dawn Perrott is my name.
Lovely, and I will put a link to that in the down below in the YouTube description. So cast your gaze downwards and find her there. Click the link key and press the follow button. This has been a really interesting episode. We got one more about Operator that I'm excited to share with everyone too. But for now, if you wanted to see that episode, make sure to smash that subscribe button. Give me a like as well to feed my ravenous ego. And if you want to get daily emails from me about Finn, you can do that at customersuccess.cx/daily. Yeah, thanks, Dawn. And thanks everyone for watching. See yas.